first. Kuminga has given them nothing in this series, and I told you guys the other night I wouldn't have played Kuminga at all.
Why?
Because he's been terrible. They hunted him tonight.
What do you base that on, though? I mean, he played 3 minutes and 56 seconds. What do you base that on?
And he was a -10, and he was a -10, and he didn't rotate back to a 3 on Herter. He let Fox get by him initially. He doesn't rebound. He's terrible right now. I think he's been the Warriors' worst player in this series for the limited amount of time that he's played. Like, I get it. People, Kuminga, they're tantalized by the athleticism. They think he can be more of a factor than he can. He can't create a shot for himself. Mike Brown's going to dare him to shoot the 3 ball. He's not making hustle. He can't guard Fox. He can't, he's unfreaking playable. And I said it today on the radio. I said it to you guys on Saturday night. I don't get the fixation on Jonathan Kuminga. The guy makes 2 or 3 good plays in a game. Everybody acts like he's a budding superstar. And then he makes 4 or 5 bad plays. He doesn't play. And everybody thinks Steve Kerr's making, doesn't know what the hell he's doing because Kuminga isn't playing. He's a young player. He's a talented prospect. But we're talking about trying to win a playoff series. I wouldn't play him another second in Golden One Center in this series as long as it goes. I will say this: home road, you can't play 6, even if you. So he may get another opportunity. And
whose minutes would you give? Who would you, if you took Kuminga, you didn't play him? You giving those minutes to Moody? Who's getting those minutes?
Moody got an opportunity tonight because of the foul trouble. And he played
he quickly picked up fouls.
I'd play Moody. He picked up 2 quick fouls quickly. He also got a putback and another layup. I don't trust him to make a 3 to save his life, but to me, he was steady. He didn't kill you. And a guy that doesn't kill you.
JD, I gotta jump in, man. What are you basing all of this criticism on? Because Kuminga played 13 minutes in game 1. He plays less than 4 minutes in game 2. How can you judge a player? Because you're judging him. You have strong opinions on him. How can you have that when the sample size is this much of a total game and all the measurables support that he's playing great? Yeah. I mean, you look at his shooting efficiency.
What measurables support he's played great? There's measurables that say he should be great in this series. He's been awful in this series.
He hasn't played in this series. Why are you? He hasn't played though. How can you judge?
That's why he hasn't played, Cyrus. He hasn't played because he was awful. Steve Kerr was not going to play him at all tonight. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to give him one more chance. And he was the worst player on the floor in the 4 minutes he was out there. And so Kerr didn't play him the rest of the night. I don't understand why that's so hard to get. Coach Kerr is telling you why he's not playing in this series by not playing him.
I don't worship every word of Steve Kerr like it's fact. Okay, so the only judgment here on Kuminga is what decision Steve Kerr makes. Kuminga shoots 37% from beyond the arc. He shot 52.5% from 3. Steve Kerr 1 minute trusts him to play him 25, 30 minutes over a stretch of a month or 2. And then all of a sudden in the playoffs, because he plays bad for 3 minutes, now he's a horrible player. He started him in the postseason last year. What has changed from then to now?
He started him by necessity in the postseason. He started him because Gary Payton II broke his hand, and he started him it wasn't. There wasn't this. Hey, Kuminga's going to be the answer. Look,
there were other players. He could have gone to other players. They're very different players. JD. I mean, 168, 163. I mean, you could have played anyone.
You're talking about who are you talking about? Moody?
Kuminga
versus Moody. 168.
No, you said that Kuminga started games last year because Gary Payton II got
they play
hurt.
the same position, Cyrus. They play the 4 on offense, and Kerr tries to guard him against ones on defense and put him on the ball, and he tries to put Kuminga on the ball because he can't follow the movement of the ball. He gets lost on shooters. He gets lost on cutters. So Kerr says, hey, you're athletic. I'm going to put you on the ball. He put him on Fox tonight, and Fox cooked his ass. And then when he got to move out of position, he lost Herter on a 3, and Herter buried a wide open 3 when he had to rotate because he couldn't get back. Look, this is not an indictment, Cyrus, and I'm coming down your road. And I love the conversation. I do, because you really are, brother, that you are the Warrior fan that has completely overrated this guy right now. It's not I want to make this point.
That's your opinion. That's your opinion.
I'm going to let you finish, but you're going to let me finish.
All right.
Okay. this is not an indictment of what his career is going to be. This is an indictment of the player he is right now and how much he can contribute to this team right now. And I'm going to be very clear. He may get an opportunity Thursday and Sunday because they're at home and because they're so shorthanded. And he may very well play better because a lot of times young players and role players play better at home. So but to me, there isn't this leash or this leeway to let Kuminga try to make some things happen. He either gets opportunities in the context of what the Warriors do, and he plays well, like the Dallas game and a bunch of other games toward the end of the season. But when he was doing that, all of those plays were he was cutting, he was taking an open three from the corner, he was ripping people on defense and taking it back the other way for dunk. He was doing it in a very simple and efficient way. And if he's not doing that, those are his great games. When he's not doing that, it's hard to play him. And tonight, in these first two games of the series, it was even worse. I'm going to step back. I'm going to let you have your say because I've been jumping in on you a couple times here. I'm gonna just chill for a minute.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
No. I'm gonna say I love this. I love it. and I'm gonna say good night. I gotta get up early tomorrow morning. All right.
Oh, all right. Good night, Frank.
Frank, have a good night, man. We'll talk to you.
Take care.
Maybe Thursday night, Frank.
Oh yeah, holla at me, man. All right,
well, sounds good. Frank Red in the house.
Here's the thing. I just don't understand how you can say in 3 minutes, 56 seconds, like, he was awful, so that's how he's going to be the entire game. Like, do you not believe players deserve a shot to actually play through their mistakes? I mean, I'll give you not in the playoffs,
not in game 2 when you're down 0-1 in a hostile environment. Like, that's not learning time. Like, we got to win this game, so I'm going to play some guys I trust.
Okay, so in the regular season, all right, in the month of March, for example, a pivotal month when the Warriors didn't even know if they were making the playoffs, right? He was averaging 24.7 minutes per game. He was scoring 14.2 points per game. He was averaging 4.5 rebounds per game. And on top of that, he was shooting 44.1% from three. He was shooting 59.5% from the field. And here's a stat that I think more people need to know, because I don't think most people are aware of this. When he plays 25 or more minutes per game, the Warriors win over 70% of the time. When he plays 20 minutes or less per game, they lose over 70% of the time. So every measurable you look at indicates he's a good player. The only evidence that shows that he shouldn't play is Kerr said so. Or maybe you feel he's too young.
Do you watch the game? Like, do you actually watch the game and individual plays? Or
I do. And JD, I'm not just a fan watching this stuff, JD.
Get some numbers from what happened to be the best stretch that he had in the season. And you're using that to say that he should get this long leash in the playoffs when you're in the most hostile environment maybe the Warriors have been in the last decade to figure it out and help them. Okay, you get it. The key to being able to play in the playoffs is, can you fit your game into the box of the pecking order of the guys who have won championships and the guys who are trusted? He can't fit his game into that box. The answer is not, we'll play him more. If I'm telling you right now, Cyrus, he plays 25 minutes tonight, the Warriors get beat by 20.
You don't know that. That's an assumption.
They get run out of the freaking building.
That's an assumption. You don't know that for fact. And again, he was already a part of a championship team last year. So where did the mistrust come from where he's playing postseason minutes last year? He was given a leash. He's starting now this year, a year later, when he's a year advanced with experience, when every measurable, every stat shows. I don't have to be a fan, JD. I don't appreciate the dig either, but whatever. You don't have to be a fan to see that every single piece of data shows he's a good player. He's progressing. He's posting some of the greatest numbers a player his age has ever posted. He would be a rookie this year by any standard, but he's that young and he's playing that good. So you're just saying because Kerr doesn't trust him, that's just how it should go. You just believe everything Kerr tells you?
What are you talking about as far as him being one of the best players and all rookie and this kind? Like, where are you digging this up from?
From the stats. Again, he averaged.
It's not rooted in any fact. You're like,
I just gave you. He shot 52.5% from the field this year over the year, the whole year. As a 20-year-old, he's younger than most rookies. Yes, he's actually excelling. He actually routinely is setting marks.
He doesn't. He can't handle the ball. He can't
don't agree with that.
on his own from.
I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with
that. He actually has a fantastic left. He actually can attack the rim. And again,
he can attack the rim if it's wide open and nobody's guarding him.
I don't agree with that, man. He actually has a great post game. And again, when he plays, they win. So why do you support the notion that he shouldn't play when the stats show when his minutes are down that they don't win? So I don't understand why you constantly bash him. I don't get that, man. I think he should play. He's 6'8". They need size.
Let's agree to disagree on this. I can see it both ways. I can see it both ways. I understand there's value in Kuminga. I understand how badly he's looked in these first two games as well. Tonight especially. I mean, it just looked like he was in a fog, and there's not enough time when a guy's in a fog to get him right. But you also got to bring everybody along. Like the Warriors, in my opinion, aren't going anywhere without the athleticism of Jonathan Kuminga in this series or beyond this series. They're just not deep enough. They're not athletic enough. They don't have enough good players in my mind. But I also saw how badly he looked tonight. He did look like a deer in headlights. He was getting torched. But once again, it's like I kind of blame Steve for not bringing him along by giving him more minutes in the season. I think he would have been further along by now if he had. Let me read a couple super chats, and then I got a couple that I want to throw your guys' way. Vicky Pellich says, give Poole's minutes to Kuminga in Game 3. That's her plan. We've got a bunch of people in here on the bottom that I want to throw in too. Mark Hope says Sabonis played Dre like Dre likes to play guys. 95.7 Brian has had a bunch of stuff in here. Let me throw a few of his in here because he's been in the chat all night, and I've saved him, and then said I'm going to go to him, and then I haven't gone to him. Okay, let me just roll a few of these. Do you know Brian Iglesia, JD?
Yes.
He says, hey, guys, tough loss for the Warriors tonight. There's a lot of takeaways from Game 2. Kuminga and Poole showed their youth and inexperience tonight. It ultimately cost them the game. Then he goes on to say, Poole and Kuminga combined for 20 minutes and 4 points, both non-factors who played the Warriors out of the game.
Yeah, Kuminga played 3 of those minutes. I don't understand why they're being lumped in together. That makes no sense.
We got this one from Brian Iglesias. He said the Warriors let the Kings back into the game in the
how
first.
does that make sense to lump them in together?
He was awful in the 4 minutes.
3 minutes. Why are you judging him for 3 minutes?
I don't.
3 minutes.
He was awful. Like that was
what? Who wasn't awful tonight? Not named Stephen Curry. Who wasn't awful? But you want to poop on
Wiggins
the idea.
wasn't awful.
Who wasn't awful tonight besides
Clay
Stephen
wasn't
Curry?
awful. Wiggins wasn't awful.
Okay,
Gary Payton II wasn't awful.
You can name Dre. How about
I told you they have 6 guys they trust right now. That's my point. They have 6 players they trust. And I said that coming
Kuminga.
off.
Kerr should trust Kuminga. I'm seeing in the chat, people are saying I'm going off emotion. How am I being emotional when over 70% of the games that Kuminga plays 25 plus minutes,
that's
win?
A nonsense stat. That's a horse bleep stat. To be honest. Like that's a cherry picked horse bleep. Like
why?
You got to go through all of those games and look at the circumstances as to who was in, who was out, who played, how many.
What is a valid stat to you?
Like, that's not like there's no freaking way that translates to the playoffs.
He shot for the year. For the year, he averaged 20.8 minutes. He shot 52.5% from the field. He shot 37% from 3. He only averaged 1.4 turnovers per game. Are those not objective stats? He averaged 3.4 rebounds in those 20.8 minutes. And you just said he was guarding De'Aaron Fox. He often does not guard bigger players down low. He's given those GP2 assignments. That costs him rebounds. How is any of that fucking subjective, man? I don't get it.
He's also he's also low motor some of the time, which I think is part of why Steve Kerr is frustrated by him. It's because it's like you've got these tantalizing physical tools, use them. And he I think at times doesn't, or he's indecisive in it. And so it's like, well, I can't trust it. Like they want him in the dunker spot. They want him to play like Gary Payton II. That's exactly how they want him to play. They want him to be in the dunker. They want him to take only corner threes. They want him, if he gets the ball in the short post and can make one little quick move and go up. I'm with you. He has a little bit of game there. I do agree with that, but you can't just give him all of the rope to let that come out in the wash when the Warriors were for about 2.5 quarters on the brink of getting run out of the freaking gym. Like that, like his minutes tonight flipped the game in the negative to a point where Coach Kerr is thinking, and I agree with it. You can say, hey, I'm trusting Kerr, whatever, but to me, it's a matter of Coach Kerr's thought is if I go back to him again in that same spot, we're done. We're done. I can't do it. And so
I don't look, Kerr has had an awful year this year as a coach. I question him big time. I do not think he's a good coach. He's not a great coach. And this has been an abysmal year for Steve Kerr. And one example is the way he's handled Jonathan Kuminga. He should have brought him along faster. This is an incredible, possible, once-in-a-generation talent. I also don't agree with the motor comment. Like, every criticism you have of him, JD, is very subjective. All I'm doing is bringing numbers.
It's watching and analyzing the game.
I'm watching it too, man. I'm analyzing it too.
Coaches,
I don't see that.
It's talking to other people who cover the league.
I talk to other people too, man. I don't know what to tell you.
It's not a personal thing. And again, I think he's probably going to go on to have a nice career. It's just, I think where we disagree, I think you just said that. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you just said he's a future superstar. You think he's a future superstar? Yeah. Okay. And I'm not even going to rule that out because I think that would be being too hard to say that he can't be that eventually. Where I disagree with people on Kuminga is just the impact that he can have right now. Like, I think he's young enough to continue to develop and get better. And I'll even agree with you on the Warriors. If you want to question how they've handled bringing him along to where he could be farther along at this point, the pushback, though, that I will have on that is when they tried to do that early in the year, not only with him, but Moody and Wiseman, it was costing him games to a point where they had to get the season back on track. Like, they were 3-7 trying to let those guys play a little bit.
They barely played in those games.
And but there's a reason they barely played. It's because they needed to go back to the starters because they weren't trustable.
They still lost those games. The 3-7 mark at the start of the season, to put that on the three youngsters when
it was the veterans were coasting too. The veterans didn't want to play any defense. Steph Clay and Dre didn't want to play any defense, and they got in some tricky situations.
And you had two-way guys who sucked playing a lot of minutes too, and that's went on most of the season.
Well,
I look at this, like I'm looking at Kuminga's game log right now, and I'm looking at
here's
Warriors.
The irony. I know you think Anthony Lamb stinks.
I do.
I know you.
He's okay.
I've heard your work. I know. Is that a fair characterization or not?
Well, I think Ty Jerome stinks. Like, I don't want to ever see Ty Jerome.
Okay. I think
you look at the
he's insignificant. I think Ty Jerome's insignificant, but he's a ball handler. And
now, but he was playing. He was averaging.
He was playing because Steph Curry was hurt, and Jordan Poole was in the starting lineup, and you needed a backup guard that could handle the ball. Like, Moses Moody can't play Ty Jerome's role. Like, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but a lot of people were saying, Moody should get his minutes.
Well, my pushback to that was, you look at the Warriors a year ago when they won a world championship and they started the season 18-2. You look at that team.
None of the young guys were playing.
But that's not my point.
That's why they were 18-2. They were playing freaking
that's not my point,
and Otto Porter and GP2.
Let me finish. That's not my point. My point is that their backup point guard last year, even in games when Steph missed, was Chris Chiozza. You still did not see Chris Chiozza play a lot of games and a lot of minutes. They didn't
have as many injuries.
What's up?
They didn't have as many injuries.
But they still had some.
They didn't have as many as they had this year. That's fair. Point.
You're right. But the point is, even last year, though, they didn't need a backup point guard. And it's just the way the system is run, you don't need it. Like, Steve Kerr's triangle offense is this version of it, the split action. It doesn't require this ball handling savvy, like Malik Monk, like De'Aaron Fox. You don't need that type of player in this system. The 90s Bulls, which run a very similar system, outside of BJ Armstrong, they never had like a point guard like that. You don't need a player like that. The Ty Jerome thing, I never understood it, just because he played 18 minutes a game and he was such a liability defensively. It cost them numerous games. I could not believe I just don't know what Kerr's doing this whole year, man. And so when you or anyone will sit here and says, well, like Kerr believes that Kuminga should only play 3 minutes and he shouldn't play. I don't, that's not enough for me to go, okay, Kerr thinks this, so that makes sense. Like, Kerr's lost that trust with me, man. He's bungled the season, dude. They had the worst road record in the NBA for a defending world champion. I don't know. It's been frustrating.